Hey, good day. Today is Tuesday, the 22nd of December, 2020. Um, so basically, we will be holding a live class just today. And we'll be starting the first day of a 3-day lesson on dividing polynomials to long division. Okay, so Wednesday, the 23rd, will just, because I don't see everybody, will just be used as a catch-up day. So in this assignment, excuse me, we will complete examples 1 through 4. Then I'll show you the algorithm, actually how to do long division. Okay. The reminder for the Edgelastic assessment that you started yesterday, the window's open through Thursday, and the homework assignment I posted yesterday is open through Thursday as well. So if we can get to, here we go. The thing I want you to look at is this warm-up, factor the numerator and decide if anything cancels. And after you do that, I just want you to simplify, because this will help us as we move into division. Okay, so it's a pretty straightforward example. Not working well. The numerator should factor to x minus 7, x minus 10. Excuse me. Okay, so the numerator factors to x minus 10 times x plus 3. So what we do in this situation is that since x minus 10 cancels out, your quotient will be x plus 3 over 1, which is just x plus 3. Which leads us into our lesson today. We're going to be dividing polynomials through the process of long division. Okay, and eventually there's always an application as how to actually apply this to real world situations. Okay, so let's start with example 1. Divide the two polynomials using long division. So what we're doing here is that when you have long division, you have two parts. You have the dividend, you have the divisor. You're looking for the quotient. So when we look for the quotient, we want to see how many times x plus 7 goes into x cubed plus 10x squared plus 25x plus 28. So the first thing we do is we put a box up here and we say, what times x gives you x cubed? Or we say, what is x cubed divided by x? Okay, so we end up with x squared. That result goes up in this box. And what we do with this result is that x squared is going to help us get rid of x cubed, because when we multiply x squared by x, we get x cubed. So we're going to put that down here. So what we're doing is we're applying the distributive property in a counterclockwise manner. We're going to multiply by x squared by x and get x cubed. And we're going to multiply x squared by 7 and get 7x squared. So we write that here. Let me erase this because we don't really need it. And like back in the day when you like divided 13 by 2, we said 2 into 13 like this, not a square root. You said how many times is 2 into 13, and then we did 6. And then 6 times 2 was 12, and we subtracted. Well, with polynomials, we're doing the same thing. We're subtracting going down. We're subtracting vertically. This time you take in these two terms. You take in these two terms minus these two terms. Okay, so when we subtract algebraic terms vertically, first of all, we've taught you to do it horizontally. So when we apply this horizontally, we actually change the operation to addition. We take the opposite of everything in this polynomial down here because we're subtracting x cubed. We're subtracting 7 from 10. So essentially, subtracting 7 from 10 is the same as adding negative 7 to 10, which is 3. And x cubed added to its opposite cancel. Okay, so we're left with 3x squared. Now the question is, we use 2 terms in the first step. So in this next step, we need a second term. So we treat this 25x like a decimal, we bring it down. Now our objective is to get rid of 3x squared. So we go backwards, kind of clockwise. You say, what times x gives you 3x squared? That would be 3x. So that's going to go up here in this box. And 3x times x is 3x squared. So we put 3x squared under the 3x squared. And 3x times 7 is 21x. And we subtract going vertically. And when we subtract, we essentially just add the opposite. So negative 3 added to positive 3 cancels. 25 and negative 21 is 4. And now we got to account for the 28. So we bring down positive 28. And we do the same thing a third time. So we're going to come up with a third box. Now, this time we want to get rid of 4x. So whatever you try to get rid of always gets divided by the first term in the divisor, which is this x right here, guys. That would be 4. So 4 times x is 4x. And let me just make this smaller so we can see what I'm talking about. 4 times 7 is 28. And as I said before, we subtract going down. So we add the opposite. So in both cases, the 4x cancels and the 28 cancels. Okay? So what you have up here is your quotient up here. So you should put plus signs always beside those boxes. And that's your quotient. So your quotient is x squared plus 3x plus 4. So that means that when you take x squared plus 3x plus 4 and you multiply it by x plus 7, you should get x cubed plus 10x squared plus 25x plus 28. Okay. So what I'm going to have you do next is try example 2. Similar example, and I'll be back to go through it. Okay, going through example 2. We want to approach these the same way every single time. All right. So we start with the first term in your dividend, okay, and you divide it by your first term in your divisor. X cubed divided by x is x squared, and that's what goes up here. And then the distributive property. x squared times x is x cubed. X cubed times 3 is negative 3x squared. Subtract vertically. So add the opposites. And then these will cancel. 2 plus 3 is 5x squared. Okay, divisor has 2 terms, so we're going to bring down negative 9x, so we have 2 terms here. Okay. And then compared 5x squared and x. Divide those. That gives you 5x, which goes up to the top here. And then multiply counterclockwise. 5x times 1x is 5x squared. 5x times minus 3 is negative 15x. You really, it's like, this is just something you got to repeat yourself. Got to repeat it, okay? You got to put parentheses, you got to draw the line, you got to do subtraction. And then green, add the opposite. So the key is, this is going to be 15 minus 9. Once you get everything done, it's easy. That's 6x, meaning 15 minus 9. This is not an easy process. And then bring down the negative 18. Now your objective is to get rid of 6x. So what do we usually do? We divide the first term that's left over, divided by the first term in your divisor. And that's positive 6. And then apply the distributive property again. 6 times x is 6x. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. Subtract going down. So we add opposites. So that 18 becomes a positive. So everything here should cancel. Okay, so just when everything cancels, it means you have no remainder. So your quotient is written up top. You can simply just circle it. That's okay. I'm going to write it down here. Okay. Now, what we're going to look at in example 3, we'll be back to go through this. Okay, in a classroom setting, after we get through the first 2 examples, I would like you to complete problem 1 and the assigned problems. And then in examples 3 and 4, your divisors are going to be binomials, but the leading coefficient is going to be greater than 1. So I'll be back to go over that. Example 3 on this quiz. I want to really okay, so we're going to set it up the same way we've set it up, but the big difference is this 2x instead of 1x. So you still need something multiplied by 2x to give you 2x cubed. So we're taking first term in your dividend and dividing it by the first term in the divisor to get you started. So the 2's cancel, and we're just left with x squared. X cubed divided by x is x squared. Then we multiply x squared by your divisor. We get 2x cubed plus 14x squared. We subtract vertically. So that means we're just going to add the opposite. 2x cubed cancels. 1x squared minus 14x squared is negative 13x squared. And it's minus 37x. So you might say, well, negative 37x is a big number. Okay, and again, we said plus. Okay, now The next objective is to get rid of negative 13x squared. So we're going to divide that by the first term in your divisor. Get 37x. 2x cubed. Oh, I did wrong here. Okay, I know what I did wrong. Let's go back. I made a mistake. This should have been that should have been 7x squared. So easy as this to screw up. So this should be 7x squared. It's just going to change everything. Everything else looks okay. That should be negative 6x squared minus 30x. And now negative 6x squared divided by 2 is negative 3x. That goes up here. So plus negative 3x, guys, is the same as minus 3x. And then distribute negative 3x to 2x plus 7, and we get negative 6x squared. Negative 3x times 7 is negative 21x. And we just subtract vertically, so add the opposite. So the 6x squares cancel. Negative 37 plus 21 is negative 16. And now we're going to bring down 56. You say to yourself, what times 2x gives you negative 16x? So we're just going to undo the multiplication, and we get negative 8. Okay, that goes up here. And now we distribute negative 8. Negative 8 distribute 2x is negative 16x. Negative 8 times 7 is negative 56. Should be coming out to be the same. Oh, it is. It's negative 56. I made a mistake here. It should be negative 56 as noted up here. Gotta be careful. And then just subtract going down. Subtract. So we're going to add the opposite. Everything cancels. So what are we left with? We are left with x squared plus negative 3x plus negative 8. So that's okay. Leave it like that. Just want to get this up to, so you can just circle this, or you could just write it as plus or negative is always going to be just subtraction. Both are acceptable. Okay. So example 4 is very similar. You want to go through and try it, and I will provide an explanation to that as well. Example 4. All right, similar to example 3. Okay, so the first term should be a x squared. So this term should be x, it's 3x cubed divided by 3x is 1x squared. That goes up here. So we don't need this anymore. We can just multiply quickly. So we get distributive property, we get 3x cubed. X squared times 3x is 3x cubed. X squared times 1 is x squared. Okay, subtract, or add the opposite. So 13 and -1 is 12. So we got 12x squared, bring down to 13x. Next item of business up here is to get rid of 12x squared. So we divide that by the first term in your divisor, 3x. So that's a 4x. That goes up on the top. 4x times 3x, that's 12x squared. 4x times 1 is 4x. Okay, subtract vertically. So we're going to add the opposite. Add opposite. So 13 and opposite of 4 is 9. We got 9x. Bring down the 3. And now we say, well, what's 9x divided by 3x? We think about it, and the answer, of course, is 3. The x's cancel, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. To distribute the 3, 3 times 3x is 9x. 3 times 1 is 3. Subtract vertically. All right, so add the opposite and the opposite, everything cancels. Everything down here is gone. We're left with x squared plus 4x plus 3. Okay. So after that, you're going to do example, you're going to do problem 2 in this ticket to leave. Okay. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And if I don't speak to you, have a happy holiday season. We'll continue with lessons 2 and 3 on January 4th and 5th. Thank you.